her on board. She has an amazing business called Rising Couples, as well as a brick and mortar business, and has been doing some amazing work around rites of passage and women empowerment and depth. And then through that, branching into couples and creating amazing teams and networks based on this depth and knowledge that women can have of themselves. So I'm very excited to have her here. As the usual, we're going to go into her business and into how she got there and some of the teachings and lessons that she learned going into her growth and what's next. And of course, some words of wisdom about entrepreneurship. Lastly, still bringing in the fun question at the end that she's going to make up on the spot to ask me. So hang in there. That fun is on the way. So Dianne, take it away. Tell us a bit about what you're up to.
Sure. Well, I'm the founder of Rising Couples, which is really a movement dedicated to couples who want to rise in love and powerful partnership. That looks different for various couples. Rise in love might mean turning a broken marriage around. It might mean a new start for empty nesters. It might mean, for brand new couples, new marriages, really laying a foundation of training to help them create a sustainable relationship. Of course, we know the divorce statistics, but what's not so often talked about are the marriages who stay together who are unhappy, unfulfilled, in relationships of obligation or transactional relationships. And so Rising Couples is a place that couples can grow in love. I talk a lot about the difference between falling in love and growing in love. And our culture, of course, supports the falling in love, which is exciting and everyone should do it. I highly recommend it. But how do we sustain that beautiful energy, that excitement, that depth, that even that vision or the fantasy of happily ever after actually takes a lot of work. And our culture doesn't offer the training how to do that work. We learn how to drive a car, we need to be trained. We learn how to open, start, maintain, sustain a thriving business. There's training that needs to happen. In all aspects of the life, it seems there's training, but really no training for sustaining powerful partnership and deep intimacy, strong communication. And then by way, we've talked in the past about how that affects our children and the homes that children are growing up in. And so to have really powerfully lit up parents is a great gift for a child. It sets them up for a future of great relationships. So we're talking about, generational wealth on the level of love wealth. And so this is Rising Couples, the program. My couples have a language in which they can not only speak to one another, but they can be in the presence of other couples who are also really dedicated and prioritizing their relationship. So that's Rising Couples. And as you said, I've owned a brick and mortar business for over 16 years. It's in a beautiful cedar wood yurt, and it's a wellness center dedicated to physical health, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, and of course, relationship health.
I love that so much, and would love to come be part of that one day, because it very much speaks to what is important for me and my life. And as I think you said, it should be a beautiful way to break the past that is what we were given, and to create something amazing and powerful and connected and deep in the future. So yes. Yeah, excited to hear also how you came to that, because that must be quite the journey.
Oh, it's such a journey. It's a beautiful journey. I don't know that we have enough time, but to be really succinct as possible, I've been working one-on-one as a sacred lifestyle coach for many, many years. I've been teaching, I've been training for nearly 30 years, as a teacher, and also working with couples as a relationship coach. And during COVID, with the big pivot that so many of us had to do as business owners in the brick and mortar world, I started to explore what would it look to offer some online options. And my business coach recommended, just doing a survey, doing a bit of an interview of my current clients and asking them some questions. What do they want? What do they need? What would that look like for them? And one of the questions that I asked, like you, I'm getting to know you a little bit, but the depth is really important to me in the work that I do. One of the questions I asked was, what is the one sort of secret desire that you have that you never talk about? And 100% of the men, which was very interesting to me, but 100% of all of my male clients said their one secret deep desire was for that one beautiful, intimate, thriving relationship in their life, whether they already were in a relationship or they didn't have a relationship currently. Across the board, that was their deepest secret desire that they never talk about. And I really started thinking about that. And I started to notice that there were patterns in my coaching business that consistently had us coming back around to their relationship, to the relationship, to the relationship. Of course, the couples that came in, but the individual sessions. And there's this fact, really, there's this truth that if your relationship isn't right, nothing in your life is right. If you have a fight at home in the morning, you're not going to have a good day at work. If there's toxicity in your home, your physical health is going to be affected. If you're yearning for love and you don't have it, it's a distraction from your creative life force, from fulfilling your own dreams and desires. So, we know as humans, we're created for love. We're created for procreation. We're created to be intimate on all levels, sexually, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So I started really looking, and then in tandem with that, I've been working with a Quechua elder since 2001. I facilitate his U.S. pilgrimages and teachings, and I take people down to Peru to work with him. He's become my beloved spiritual teacher. And in his teachings, there are 3 steps of the self-realization on the path to self-actualization. And that second step is all about your intimate relationship. And it's part of the ancient wisdom teachings that is just overlooked on most people's journey of self-help or awakening consciousness or taking a deeper dive into their religious or spiritual path. And again, because that intimate relationship is so critical to our whole health, I just knew that I was to bring those teachings forward and to begin to work with couples and train them in this really beautiful, really sacred, really empowering, really exciting work. And couples who are powerful together are doing powerful things in the world, both individually, but as a couple. And because of that power as a couple, again, their children have a sense of their own power and what's possible for them in their life and in their future.
That is such powerful work. And another piece that I'd love you to bring in is around the women as well as men. I know your men's tents or your men's groups aren't running at the moment because your facilitator has disappeared and you're looking for a new one. So I hope you find that.
I think I found one. Just this last weekend since we spoke. Yeah.
And can you speak to the women's groups that you create? Because as you said, the power apart in some ways creates the power in the third entity of the relationship together.
Yes, absolutely. Too powerful. You can't have a powerful relationship, a clean, clear, loving, healthy relationship without 2 individuals who aren't also healthy, powerful, clear. So, with my couples, we do a lot of work around clarity, around health. And with my women, so just a little bit of background. I'm a medicine keeper in the tradition of the Lakota. My ancestry is Native American, partially. And I've been facilitating the Ancient Mother Moon Lodge, a women's circle, ceremonial circle, red tent ceremonial circle for 21 years. And we meet every month, the first Sunday of every month. And for many, many years, it's been in person. In a beautiful ceremonial space. My brick and mortar is a yurt. It's a beautiful cedar wood yurt. It's a gorgeous space. And I'm just now actually creating an online gateway so that women from all over the country, all over the world can also come in and participate. And my vision quest, so we talk a lot about rites of passage in the women's work, but in all of our ceremonial work. And for our children, one of the critical pieces of whole health that's missing for our youth in our culture, in our country at this time, are their rites of passages. And as I work with women, what I see again over and over is that they haven't been honored and celebrated for these critical moments in their cycles through the life. And the first one begins, their child rite of passage begins when they move from that place of, full total dependency, which we want our infants and toddlers to live fully in full dependency on parents who are loving and present and conscious. But then there's a moment when they make that transition from being dependent to just the beginnings of independence. They start to realize that they're capable, that they can go to school, that they can learn, that they can dress themselves, simple things, that they can speak for themselves, that they can ask for what they need. And when they're both celebrated for having grown and learned to stand and walk and put words together, but also prepared. And this is a really important piece. They're prepared for the responsibilities that are to come. They're prepared to go to school. They're prepared to make new friendships. They're prepared to say no if something feels uncomfortable to them, say yes when it feels right. That sets them up for their next rite of passage, which comes for girls when they start menstruating. And when their menstrual cycle comes, their first menses, called menarche, then they take on a whole new realm of responsibility, the responsibility of womanhood, the responsibility of their sexuality, of their body, of their power to procreate. And again, to be celebrated for all that has come before, but then also prepared for what comes next. The teachings of how to hold their femininity, their womanhood, their power in a good way, not only for themselves, but for their family, but also their future relationship. And then when it's time to choose that relationship that will rise in love rather than fall in love and crash potentially, they understand what their responsibilities are to that relationship. And then once that time of relationship comes, perhaps marriage for those who choose that path, they understand what it means to be in relationship with other, which sets them up for their third rite of passage, which would be motherhood and their relationship to their child. And then again, the responsibilities that are inherent in parenthood and motherhood. And to both celebrate becoming a mother, but to also be fully prepared for motherhood itself. In that motherhood, they learn to of course, sacrifice. Those of us who are mothers, I have a son, he's 21. He just had his vision quest this past summer, the male rite of passage for 21. But through those years of motherhood, we learn so many things. We develop, we grow, we emerge as powerful teachers, healers. Mom she's a nurse, she's a teacher, we're so many things as a mom. We're a playmate for many years. And then all of those roles shift and change as our children grow, and we find ourselves at our fourth and final rite of passage, which is our wisdom years, or becoming a crone, or a grandmother in our community, if you will, an elder, really. And that's when I speak to the women about whether or not you've been a biological mother. We now become mother or grandmother, if you will, to all of the children. And those children of all ages, little ones, young women, young men, will come and sit at our feet as elders, as wisdom keepers, and they'll have questions and they'll need our wisdom and our guidance and our insight. And because we've been through a rite of passage as a mother and understood our responsibilities to care for other outside of our own self, we now are prepared to care for all of the community. And of course, in our culture, the elders are revered, they're held in high respect, they're taken care of, and they're heard, because we know that our elders carry a wisdom that we don't yet carry. We just haven't lived the life experience yet. And I find that the women who have gone through these rites of passage and those who are now elders in my community are women of deep beauty and deep power, and they're holding themselves in the world in a way that's clear and lit up, and they're excited for their elder years. I had one woman who she came to me. Actually, she was already an elder, but she went through several of the rites of passage. She was in the hospital. She really was dying. She was really on her deathbed. I went to her, we had a long conversation, and she said, I'm just still curious, and I really want to know what it's going to be like to live in the retirement community in that new apartment. She was living in her home. There was talk about her transitioning into elder care, and she made it. She out of the hospital because her curiosity, her sort of zest for life.
Yeah.
So many don't want to leave their home at the appropriate time as they age. But for her, she had taken on this whole new curiosity and excitement for life. And she just wanted to know what it would be like to be in this apartment around a community of other, older men and women, elders. And she lived for many more years. And she's now passed, and she was a real beautiful pillar in my community for many, many years. Again, it's been decades, and I've also had young women who came into my circle pregnant, birthed their daughter or son, in my case, a son. But right now I'm thinking about the little ones, the little girls who've grown up through my Moon Lodge, have taken their early rites of passage and are now off to college. And the quality of their inner life and their outer world is very different from their peers, having gone through these wisdom women's teachings.
And I think that's what keeps landing with me when you're saying these things is it's the curiosity. It's the keeping the curiosity that in some ways our culture really focuses on one stage of life. And it's the curiosity that when another stage comes, there's a whole other experience, there's a whole other opening, a whole other possibility, a whole other deepening and knowledge base that you can't get until you're there. And it's a curiosity that there's something different shifting and brewing and becoming that you're going to step into. And
Yeah, absolutely. And it moves. I love that word. I love the energy. I love the concept. It keeps us young, and it's critical. It's one of the key trainings or pillars or teachings with my couples, because part of what gets lost in coupleship after the honeymoon stage, after the falling in love, after all that beautiful, juicy stuff happens, is over time, the curiosity dwindles. And life comes in, kids come in, work, health issues, financial issues, all of these other things come in. And couples stop being curious about one another. They stop being curious about their love. They stop being curious about their own sexuality, about their own sensuality, about their own evolution and expansion. And one of the critical pieces is to bring couples back around to just simply getting curious about one another. And we know we change every minute, every cell. Cells are dying and rejuvenating, and as the weeks and years go by, we're not the same as we were when we first got together. And can that be a curious thing and a fun thing rather than a frustrating thing, or when expectations are disappointed? Can we just eliminate expectation altogether and stay in what's possible, what's the potential? And all of that potential requires curiosity. Where can we go as a couple? Where can you go in your life, in your health? Where can I go? And just to pose those questions is a great opening into the world of curiosity.
And my world of curiosity is taking me into what's next.
What's next? Well, what's next is I've been offering my the sort of gateway into my couples work, into the Rising Couples program as a whole, is twofold. Couples come in either through relationship coaching with me or through a workshop, the couples workshop that I offer. It's a 10-week workshop, and it's been these last 3 years in person in my yurt. Love working in person. The early couples, the couples along have moved from that first 10-week workshop into an annual program that's called Rise in Love. And my very first group have now moved into the next tier, also an annual program called the Rising Couples Legacy Circle. And they're now working, they're beautiful, lit up, really committed couples who are now looking at their vision for their future and the legacy that they want to leave as a couple. There's financial legacies, and there's money, and there's all of these things. There are legacies we leave individually within the couple. Mm-hmm. But the question for them is, what do you want to leave as a couple for your children and the future generations and the world, your community, perhaps your religious or spiritual circles, your work circles. And so it's really exciting. So one part that's next is that I'm moving into this year of legacy circle with my first cohort of couples. My other couples since my first cohort are moving into Rise in Love, and now I have a brand new offering, which is that couples workshop online. So now I can offer to couples all over the world, certainly in the United States, this workshop, this program. And so I'm building that out. I'm about to launch in early October. That workshop will be available and ready. I'm already taking registrations. I already have couples registered for the online. I also have my in-person that's starting up in October as well. So I'll have 2 different groups this fall, one online and one in person. And I'm just really, really, really eager and curious to see, how couples from around the world, as I taught, I have coaching couples from the UK and France, and so it'll be fun to see couples come together from different parts of the world, and how those experiences based on different cultures really sort of feed the conversation, because I'm having those conversations with those couples, but other couples aren't having those conversations. So all of that is really new for the business coming this fall.
I love that so much. One of the questions that's popped into my head and won't go away is, what are some of the legacies that couples are choosing?
Oh, wow. Like I said, we've just stepped in. We've had our first workshop, and we were laying a lot of groundwork. And one of the things that I give in the Rise in Love program is a couple's manifesto, and they begin to create the manifesto of their relationship. What are they really committed to as a couple? What are they dedicated to? What do they believe in? Who are they as a couple? And so the first thing we did in that workshop was to have them bring that manifesto, which they've been working on, but they haven't solidified it, and to start to really dig deeply and have them refine in a way. And what I spoke to them about is, when people just come into the sphere of your influence, I call it, when they come into your presence, when they're hanging out with you at a cocktail party, or they see you walk through a restaurant, or sitting with you by the park, or family members maybe who haven't even seen you in many years at a wedding or a funeral, can they feel, could they define what your legacy is, who you are as a couple? When they experience you together, do they immediately know somehow, maybe they can't put words to it, but do they immediately know who you are and what you stand for as a couple? Can they feel your love and your commitment? Do they know, like, can they feel how you work and move in the world, how you attend to your children, whether they're little or grown? Um, and and until you can really exude that and exemplify that for others, you really don't have a legacy. You know, you might have a marriage, you might have, you're together, but no one really knows what that means. And we see, of course we know, and I just alluded to it earlier, there are so many couples, so many marriages, so many long-term relationships who in the outward appearance seem happy, seem stable, good, but behind closed doors, it's not good. It's not happy. And they're living two separate lives. They're living the life that the world sees, and they're living the real life behind closed doors. And they're suffering and they're struggling, and they might feel trapped or they might feel lonely even within their relationship. And that's not a legacy that I want to encourage couples to leave. I want couples to be able to leave an honest, deep, truthful, authentic legacy, so that when people get to know that story behind closed doors, which comes later, sometimes after a divorce, sometimes after a death, sometimes through the children when they talk about what it was really like to live in the home, no conflicting legacy, like people know how beautiful and powerful and sacred that their relationship is, and they live it behind closed doors and also out in the world.
What magic. I'm so glad I asked that question. Thanks,
Thank
Brain.
you.
And one of my last questions before you get to ask me one is, what are some teachings for people who are like you, have a vision, have a dream, have a purpose that they haven't yet manifested, those entrepreneurs that are getting into this? What's some words of wisdom that you could give to them?
Love. You have to love not what you do. I hear that a lot out there in the business coaching world. You have to love what you do. You have to love people. I remember there was a coach. He's a good friend of mine. He's also a coach, and he recognized, and he asked me. He said, how do you stay so patient with people? Like, you're really present with them. How do you stay patient and do the work that you do in the way that you do it? And I really thought about that for a moment. And I said, I really love them. And I have a lot of compassion. I've lived such a story. People, my own childhood, my own life, which is a deeper background story. Why I'm really committed to children and their parents, because I grew up in a violent alcoholic home behind closed doors. It was a very scary place to be. So I've had a lot of life experience, and so my ability to be with my clients and with my students, I really love them. That's really what I can say. And then the other side of that is, you must be willing to dig deep and work really hard. There's no quick, $1 million in 30 days. There's no 5,000, new leads in 10 minutes from one email. There's no, I heard this story really recently. In Japan, when a business owner, when an entrepreneur chooses to start a new business, they think about their business, in the States, we'd call it their business plan, 50 years hence. So when we talk about legacy, they're thinking about their business, the sustainability of their business 50 years from the moment they open that business.
Right.
In the States, we think about 1-year goals, 5 years, 10-year business plan. But they're thinking about how that business and their offer or their product is deeply rooted so that it has a positive impact 50 years into the future. And I loved that because it aligns with my Native American teachings from my elders. And we talk about, all that we do, we think about 7 generations forward. And so, are they words of wisdom? Just what I'm deeply committed to, because it's how I was raised, it's who I am, is knowing that if you're going to create something to offer to humanity, to the world, to the future, should be real, and the foundation should be love.
Yeah, I completely agree, and thank you for bringing that love to the world. And
it's my pleasure.
With you. Okay, what question do you have for me?
Well, I didn't know this was coming today, so I didn't have a question, but I'm going to ask you the question that clearly I love to ask, that formed my business. What is your one deepest secret desire that you never talk about?
Ooh, I love that. Silence. What is my one deepest desire that I never talk about? I talk about a lot of things with a lot of people, but let's put it this way. The ones that I talk about with my closest people that I don't with others is around probably my Support to Thrive business, branching out into creating kind of those hands-on in-person experiences where me and my people can work with others out in nature in the middle of nowhere, whether it's in a far up mountain in Honduras or in the middle of nowhere jungle or northern Ontario. It's those very much back to fire and stick, and this is where my food comes from, and creating it, and those deep crying, not pretty moments, as well as the lit up improv laughing till you cry moments. And that is probably it, is that the Support to Thrive will branch into that, of those experiences that me and my close people, because you shouldn't do it alone. There is a 2 in my Support to Thrive, because it should be with more than one person that you host and you put those on and you create those spaces with. So using my people that I've created those depths with to create those depths and that space and that safety for others.
Beautiful. Well, I can envision perhaps a collaboration in the future, and you come down to Peru on my next tour next fall, 2025.
I also speak Spanish. I'm totally in.
Fantastic. Oh, the Sacred Valley, Machu Picchu, Cusco. Yeah. Powerful, beautiful, sacred, deep places to be in group and awakening.
So come join us. We're going to Peru, everyone. Thank you so much, Dianne. It's been a pleasure to have you on here, and look to connect with you in the future, and as will others.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for having me.
Much love.